Ohio State's favored by 28.5 points in its final road game of the season when it faces Northwestern, not at Ryan Field, but at Wrigley Field, playing on a baseball diamond. Ladies and gentlemen, Stephen Means, Andrew Gillis, and Stefan Krajisnik. These are our game picks. Stefan, what's your game score?
Yeah, I've got Ohio State winning this game 41-6. His line opened around 30.5 and it's dropped a couple. But I think Northwestern's got a better offense than Purdue in some ways. I think they're kind of built to, maybe have a little bit of success in an environment like this where it's going to be kind of cold. And I don't know if it's going to be like rainy, but it's going to be overcast like the entire weekend, which is about Chicago from October through like March anyways. I think Northwestern will be able to, get a couple scores. Probably won't be a shutout like we saw last week, but I think this Ohio State offense is going to roll. We talked about it in the first part of Buckeye Talk of, I think Will Howard and the offense are going to come out airing it out a bit. I think we'll see guys like Carnell Tate, Jeremiah Smith, and Emeka Egbuka get some chances down the field with Will Howard, getting some deep shots in there. So I think Ohio State covers the spread. I believe the math there is hitting the over. I've had this stretch of, I think, getting the spread and the over-under wrong for a few weeks in a row now. So I'm hoping I can at least, go 1 for 2. 500 is a decent batting average. So in the spirit of Wrigley Field, maybe I'll at least get one right. Andrew's not a fan of my puns all week.
Yeah, you and Andrew suck at picking the over-under over the last couple of weeks. In fact, Andrew lost a lot of Buckeye Talk tokens over the last couple of weeks here because of that over-under. But it is what it is. They don't. You guys know. Well, no, I know how many people have. I'm letting you guys just like keep it up to guessing how much you have. Though you could also go to cleveland.com/OSU and go read the post, and you can see how many you have as well there. Andrew, we have the same score. And I only know that is because right 2 seconds before we started doing this part of the pod, Andrew sent me his game pick, and it's literally the pick I literally just put in the post, 41-3. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to give my reason for why it's going to be 41-3, and then you're going to give your reason for why it's 41-3. My reason is because Ohio State said so. Andrew, what's your reasoning for why it's 41-3?
That's a good way to put it. I think because Ohio State said so, it's pretty good. Northwestern, their offense is miserable. When you look at yards per play, they're 126 in the country. That's actually behind Michigan. They're one spot behind them. Purdue, for as bad as Purdue is and was, they're 70th in the country in terms of yards per play. So, like, statistically, there are numbers that show that, Northwestern's offense in some ways is worse than Purdue's. So maybe, they're able to move the ball, maybe they won't. But, like, this to me, like you said, it very much feels like a name your score type of game. I think Ohio State's going to be able to experiment defensively. They're going to continue that experimentation like we've seen the last couple of weeks. I think offensively, it's about repping what you've done well, kind of get in, get out. You've got a top 5 game against Indiana next week at home. They play Michigan the week after. You win those 3, assuming Northwestern's in that mix. You got Oregon the week after. This to me feels like kind of the beginning of a ramp-up period, and I think Ohio State is not going to be looking ahead or anything like that. I think there might be some thought of, maybe it's a look-ahead game for Ohio State. You got a big stretch coming up. I just don't see that. I think Ohio State's going to roll pretty easily in this one. I don't really envision Northwestern keeping this one close.
I'm saying Ohio State said so facetiously, but seriously, part of me is actually kind of serious with that. They don't lose these games, even to the point you're talking about, Andrew. The look-ahead game. They might have some scares on their resume during the Ryan Day era. The Nebraska game earlier this year probably counts as that, given what was coming the following week, a top 5 matchup on the road. But they don't lose them. That's just not what the Ryan Day era has been all about. And part of the reason they don't lose them is because Ryan Day does the thing you see NFL coaches do a lot of times, where regardless of what the opponent's record is, he finds a way to make them seem more important than they are. He did it with Purdue the week before. I don't think he went that far out there with Northwestern, but I think part of the reason why he didn't go out as far out there with Northwestern is I think the environment already does it for you, the fact that you're playing at Wrigley Field, but also veteran group. You don't have to tell that to, right? They can't lose another game. They can go 10-2 and make the playoff, but they're trying to win a Big Ten championship. So there's no room for error for them to lose games, especially this type of game, and then go to the Big Ten championship. If you somehow pull a Urban Meyer against Iowa or Purdue in 2017 or 2018, it doesn't matter what happens next week because you're not going to Indianapolis regardless. You just helped Indiana get to Indianapolis before you even got on the field with them. So when I say Ohio State said so, it's as much about Northwestern isn't as incompetent as Purdue is, but they're equally just as bad in comparison to the talent level Ohio State has in comparison to what they have. But also, because Ohio State has a loss, it has to view these games with the level of importance that even if we in the media and as fans want to brush it aside, they can't do that. Because if they do that and they drop this game, they can't check off one of the things this very team that the number has been thrown out there, $20 million was assembled, Avengers Assemble was brought together to do. Well, the first one of those 3 goals you can't do because you messed around in Chicago for a weekend because you decided to overlook a team. So that's what I mean by Ohio State said so, because they have to approach it with the mindset of every single game is a playoff game because you've already lost to Oregon earlier this season. 28.5-point favorites. You got 3 covers, 3 overs. Let's see who wins out. I have purposely been on the opposite side of you two, and it has been earning me Buckeye Talk tokens for a couple of weeks now. But I'm joining your side of the table because, again, I think Ohio State says so. They can pick their score in this game. Get the text 614-350-3315, 2-week free trial, $3.99 after that. When we're inside of Wrigley Field, we'll be texting before, during, and after the game, everything you could possibly need. And if you're watching this on YouTube, go listen to the full pod. And if you're listening to the full pod, maybe you just want to see us while you listen. So check out our YouTube channel. Just type in Buckeye Talk in the search bar on YouTube. For Stefan, Krajisnik, and for Andrew Gillis, I'm Stephen Means. And for the final road game of the season, that was Buckeye Talk.